Let's take a look at a new RAP application we're developing for a train testing company. So let's go to the trial website, which is where we've installed the RAPs, and we don't see anything unless we sign in, so I'm just going to sign in as crash test dummy, and as soon as I sign in I'll get to see these tabs here. So the application is actually on this page here, the MGRL page. And there's a number of things here. The company that we're doing this work for is Meridian Generic Rail. They do lots of work to help with train type testing, this kind of things, and they want something to help them manage all their projects. So I put this together, and they also want something to manage the competencies of the people within the company. So that's the main, and they also want some project management stuff to help manage problems. So this is a very small application, which obviously as we add data it will grow bigger and bigger. First of all, they wanted a portfolio of projects. So this is the portfolio of projects at the moment. So currently we've only got two trains in at the moment. There's a B95, a fictitious name by Bombardier, and a C101 by Siemens. So these are important. As time goes on, obviously the portfolio is going to get bigger and bigger. I've only two bits of temporary data in there. So if we go back to their launch page, then we want to see a list of competencies within the company. And again, this isn't an exhaustive list, but we could add a new RAP instance to add a new competency. At the moment, we've got a mechanical competency, an electrical competency, and a QA competency. And this says whether or not we require qualifications, whether or not we require experience, and whether or not we want to have project references. So what we can do is we can link the competency to the projects that we've actually been working on. I'll show you how that works a little later in the demo. Let's just jump back again. So that's competencies, and this is now which users have those competencies. So if I look again, I've only done this for two people. I've done a mechanical competency for Matt Burgess, and I've done a mechanical competency for Pat Gaffney. And we can see here how this kind of works. So let's just go into Matt's page for the moment. And this is how we're going to prove that Matt has a mechanical competency. So the first thing we're going to do is we've uploaded his qualifications. So Matt's very eminently got his 100 metre swimming award. So that's uploaded there. Obviously we could keep uploading things here. And then experience wise, well, maybe you want to upload CV to show that you've done your experience. But the project references page is probably a little bit more interesting, because this is actually linking to real projects. So the B95 was the Bombardier project. So if I go to the B95 project, it's now pulling out all the jobs that have been done on the B95. Now obviously it's very small, there's only two jobs on there. We've changed a coupler which I've cited there, and we've also got we're going to grease the coupler head, so I'm going to select that as well. So there's two bits of experience there that have been used to demonstrate against internal projects that Matt has this particular competence. So the user signs to say, yes, I agree with all that. Obviously I've signed it on behalf of Matt because he wasn't around for the demo. And then we can have a number of years of expiration, and this is the decision of the manager. So the manager might say, Matt, there's good evidence there, and your competence will be valid for 5 years. So that calculates the expiry date here, which is actually based upon this signature here. So I need to sign this off. So I'm going to sign that off as the crash test dummy, and so it's actually worked out in 5 years' time, which is that date there. That's the expiration date of this. So if we jump back here, we can see here that we've got this little note of projects, and we've got an expiration date there. So that's how we're managing users' competencies, and we can review it all the time using that kind of table. this is the next idea, that we've got a list of projects here, but we want to add tasks to those projects, and we've seen 2 of them already, but let's just have a look at a full listing. Now, it's obviously very small, this data, because I've only done it on 1 project, and there's 2 jobs on there basically. But each of the jobs, we'll maybe have a look at this one here. Well, look at this one because there's a bit more information in this one. So this is a job that's been given to Pat Gaffney. So okay, first of all it tells us what project we're on. So this the B95 project, and then we've got an automatic number here too. So in fact what we've got here is this is how these are the unique keys. This is on B95 project and task number 2, and then we've got a short title here, and then we can say whether this is planned work, so it's covered by the budget, or whether it's arising work, it's something we've discovered on the job and we need to track it, or whether it's the difference between arising work and additional arising work is something that might possibly have happened and might possibly have been thought about and planned. Additional arising is this has come from nowhere and we've got no plan to deal with this issue. We can obviously add a bit more detail here, and this is where we select the competency required. It's a mechanical competency, and then this will drop down. These are the 2 people in the company that have that mechanical competency, so I've given this one to Pat. The deadline for this job is the 10th. The difficulty, I said it's easy. Then when the job starts, so this is to actually begin the task, we can assign this to start, so that keeps a track of when the job was started. So if we hover over there, we can see, do that again, we can see the date. Okay, it said it's been signed off on the 4th at 10:37. So obviously we can upload more files here if we want to add some more data than that, and we've said it's 20% complete, and finally when this job is actually done there'll be some finishing notes and somebody will sign to freeze that wrapper to say the job's done, but we'll just leave that as it is for now. So it's saying don't leave because we haven't submitted the page. I've made a change and I haven't made a submit, so I'll stay on the page and I'll make a submission. So that's saved the changes, and I'll just jump back again now. Okay, so this is one way of viewing that information. Oh, there's something here that I didn't actually show you. There's a nice little system here for keeping notes. So things might happen on jobs, and this is a little feature here. So I can go in. The client will be available in 5 hours. So that's a little note that I'm going to add, and I'm going to add it there. And what it shows is that the crash test dummy added this note on that time, so that we can track various issues. And this is the sort of thing, this makes a little log of all activities on this particular action. It's quite useful for managers to be able to review it. So I'll submit that again, and I'll jump back, and we can see how those comments are all being tracked in this box here. The other thing that we can do is we can produce a Gantt chart. So rather than looking at tables of information, sometimes it's more convenient to look at charts of information. Again, this is a relatively simple chart because it's showing only 2 activities. So so we can see here from here there's a span. That is the planned span of the work to be done. That goes from between when the work was started and the goal or the deadline. So that little symbol there is this symbol here which shows us the deadline. So that's the span. And then this black chart or black column above the blue one shows when it was last modified. So I can see from looking at this, I can see certainly there's a 20% progress here, and I can see that there's 0% progress on this job. And I can see that this job was last modified quite recently because that's 10:37, but this job was modified last, yesterday, so nothing's happened on this job today. So this kind of gives you an indication of who's accessing the jobs and who's updating the jobs, and it's put it on a time chart. Now, there isn't really a limit to the number of bars we can have on here. This is obviously very small because I just put some test data on there. But I hope it's kind of showing how useful it would be to share this kind of information online, so that projects can be dealt with by competent people, and how we can track their activities using this project management system. So thank you very much for listening, and please get in touch if you would like this system to be installed on your app site.